You're listening to a Countout Podcast.
What it is, what's up, and welcome to G1ndering. That's right, it's another tasty, bite-sized morsel, but it's going to be a little bit bigger, a little bit better, and a little bit more filling today, because you don't just have me alone on the streets of Perth, West Australia. You've got the motherfucking Token Wall Pimp. That's right, the captain of the Token Wall Terrorizers, live and in the studio. It's Dave from WeWorkStiff. What's up, my man?
Hey, man, that's a big build-up. I don't know if I can live up to that.
No,
shit.
you're living up to it right now.
Thanks for having me. I really do appreciate it. And now I know what it is like to be a polyamorous podcast whore like my co-host Josh.
Am I your first guest spot? Am I the first podcast you've ever done besides WeWorkStiff?
Yeah. This is my first solo podcast. Expectations, keep them very, very low.
Oh, this is amazing. And it's so funny because we only did this because Curtis and Josh did theirs, and immediately I was like, you see this motherfucking shit going down? We're going to do our own.
Well, I listened to that this morning, actually, and I'm like, wow, that's a really cool podcast. It was a lot longer than any other G1ndering show that there's been.
Yeah.
Do not expect the same sort of critical, analytical analysis that
we got different style. They're all substance. We're all style. So
look, I'm quite, aware that I could very well be exposed in this format, and everyone see that Josh has carried me for years.
Nah. This is going to be fun.
Happy to be here and doing this with you, Raffe. How did I am curious though?
Mm-hmm.
How did I end up with you, and how did Josh end up with Curtis?
Well, Curtis was just like, who's free? And Josh was like, I'm free. And then it happened. But I'm happy it worked out this way because you and I always have the same takes. Like, so maybe this is a boring listen, but what everybody's going to get is us just super agreeing with each other, which is going to be really fun for us. But whenever I listen to WeWorkStiff, you and I always like the same dudes. We always kind of have the same takes on stuff. So I feel like it worked out for the best. And I feel like Curtis and Josh are both the very sort of analytical guys and we're the gut guys. You know what I mean? I think it's the right combination has worked out. I think the right tag teams have happened and I am very excited. So I just want to make sure I'm looking 100% at the right night in the results here. Yes, that's it. So it's going to be night 15 we're talking about. It was live on August 12th, which is now August 15th, so that's how fucking tidy we are, from Nagaoka. And as always, G1ndering, we're not getting bogged down in the tags. I'm sure they're wonderful, but we're just going straight in. Now, straight up, it begins with a token wall terrorizing, torn asunder, as two of your members, your team members in the Stiff One draft, go head-to-head, Gabe Kidd versus Callum Newman. Now, I will say that you took Gabe Kidd as your draft, number one pick. And to be honest, he probably would have been my number two if I hadn't gotten Zach straight away. How have you felt about his tournament, and how did you feel about this match?
So it's not to anybody's surprise that I'm a massive Gabe Kidd mark. Yeah. And regardless of whether he had no points or all the points, I was picking him number one, even if I got the first pick. Yeah. Dude, just everything about that guy is super compelling. So I've loved his tournament, and I felt like there was growth in there that I wanted to see. He's just much must watch.
Yeah.
And he does this interesting thing where he rides the line of, particularly in this tournament, because the crowd has gotten so well behind him in different spots and in different buildings. But he does this amazing thing where he's a heel, but he's all pride and honor and respect, and talks about
to a certain point.
yeah. But he talks about it in the after the match.
Yeah,
his promo about it. I'm all emotion. It's not about the moves. I got all that.
Yeah,
and that's my guy. I love that shit.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you go out there and you just he just shows how committed and how much he wants it, and then I'll be a fan if you look committed. And that's often the things that I have when I have issues with following certain guys.
100%. I completely agree. Yeah. I'm the same with all wrestlers in all companies. I want to see integrity and intention in everything they do. And when it comes to promos or even walking to the ring and things like that, I want to see it in their eyes that they believe it and they're with me. This is all suspension.
The whole spectrum. It can be weird as fuck.
Yeah.
Or it can be a madman like Gabe Kidd.
Absolutely. Or a super straight man, whatever it is. I just want to believe that you're suspending the disbelief with me. And all of my favorite characters in wrestling, as I said, all companies, independents, whatever, are the people that can look down the barrel of that camera and have me believe it. You know what I mean? And then the guys that I don't vibe with, that I quite often will, talk about and not feel. I've been he's not as bad now, but used to be a big critic of Yoshi-Hashi's. I'm still a big critic of Sonata, though he's been getting kind of a bit better, are that. And then the ones that I've always historically really vibed with are dudes like Stone Cold Steve Austin, Bret Hart, those guys. And Gabe Kidd is that now for New Japan, and I fucking love it.
Yeah, because we all know the deal, right? We all know what it is, but I want to be taken on the ride. Yeah. I want the promo that fucking makes me kind of either scared or laugh, or I just want to be with the guy.
You just want to be on board, right? It's if you're asking me to believe that this thing is real, I want to at least believe that you believe it's real. You know what I mean? And you don't have to have a crazy fucking reason or all this shit. I just want to know that you want to be the best and you want everybody to know you're the best, and then I'm there to see it happen. That's how I always look at it. And so in this particular match, I actually really liked it. I thought it was maybe Cal's best match of the tournament so far. I felt like it was really intense, and even up till after the bell rang, Gabe's still fucking him up after the bell and stuff. Were you pretty happy with it? It was an own goal for your points, but it was still pretty dope.
Yeah. Look, it was a pretty short sort of match, but it was amazingly done.
It was 4 minutes and 51 seconds.
It wasn't like a traditional squash in any way, because Callum got a lot of offense in, was intense, and then Gabe just kind of caught him and planted him, I like those kind of things. It's not necessarily how I'd expected it to go down, but I've said to Josh recently, I'm like, the Gabe Kidd can do a Gabe Kidd match 100 different ways, and this was no different. This is like a squash, but it gives Callum, you see there's the intensity. He's still kind of on the come up. He gets taught a lesson by a guy who's effectively kind of his generation or the generation just before. And, Callum will kind of learn from those moments. And, Gabe sort of saying afterwards, you can't just be a fucking Will cosplay. You got to be your own man and that sort of thing. And that's, I love that sort of shit. So I thought the tournament overall for Callum was... I expected that. Nothing kind of surprised me about him.
No, not at all. He did get that initial win or whatever, which was kind of his big sort of moment. And then really he was what you would expect from a new guy in the tournament,
Yeah. Although the other new guy in the tournament, Bolton Oleg, as soon as he walked out from behind the curtain, that fucking instantly surprised me. and then they get the Takesh to win and all that sort of thing. So there is a comparative thing going on there from guys from the same class, but they're telling different stories, right? And I like that. I like the difference of where guys are at. Callum is he's supremely talented as far as the moves thing goes.
Sure.
But there's elements he's a little bit of a cunt sometimes, and I want to see that prickish side kind of come out. I don't mean he has to be a heel or anything like that, but I'm all for this Prince becomes the king story, but I'm all for it sort of taking time and him festering on things.
And he's so young, right?
What's he, 21?
Yeah, and think how good he is now. First ever G1, 21 years old in the United Empire. Imagine where he'll be in a couple of years. If everything goes to plan.
I mean, they got a couple of them they got Vegeta in the juniors and him in the heavies. It's nuts how good they are, not just spotting talent, but preparing talent.
Yeah.
So in 18 months' time, both of those guys were going to be like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
And then in 3 years' time, we're going to be like, well, these two guys are just they'll be top of the world in New Japan.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. Moving on after that, the next round was Zack Sabre Jr. Defeating Sonata in 15 minutes and 44 seconds. Now, this was a battle of the West Coast captains versus the British Beefcakes. And I got to be honest, man, with how well Zack had done in the tournament and how kind of average Sonata had done, I really did not expect Zack to win. I was sweating. I was like, I need these points. And I really thought I was going to be fucked. And then Zack just wins, and I was like, let's go. Let's just go.
Yeah.
I'm so happy
I wasn't
about
expecting it either. I thought Sonata would get the win here. But I like that Zack goes through as kind of the dominant guy from the block. And, regardless of what happens in the playoffs, he can still be I am still the greatest tournament wrestler. I fucking flew through my block in the G1. I really dug this match. They've got good chemistry, these two. So he brings something out in Sonata at the more technical side.
I would
he
agree.
Does. When I watch those two wrestle, I kind of I'd like to see a bit more of that in Sonata. But then it does kind of. We always, you guys talk about it, and we talk about who Sonata kind of he'll wrestle at the level of the guy that he's with.
Yeah,
and he can go with Zack, and they got good chemistry. The back and forth stuff was cool. I dug the match. The result surprised me, but I'm here for it.
Yeah, exactly. And you're seeing a bit more emotion out of Sonata, which is good. Whether it reads integrous or painting by numbers, you know what I mean? That is still a question to be answered, as it goes. Am I just showing this because other people do and things like that? Do I really believe it? Do I see it? I'm not all the way convinced. But he's trying and he's trying to do different things. And he was there with Zack the whole way. And I think he always shows that he can be there for anybody. He just can't always bring people to his level.
I honestly want a Sonata Taichi tag run.
Yeah, I'm with you because think about how good Taichi was for Zack, when they were on that big run. And Sonata has had big tag runs before, but he was with Evil. You know what I mean? They were just the LIJ gimmick guys, and that was just it, and they had a bullshit finish and things like that. Imagine you put him with Tai Chi, they have a great chemistry together. Tai Chi brings out a lot of energy in him, and
he brings emotion, and the crowd connect. Tai Chi's just one of those guys. They connect differently.
There's a bromance there that's really honest and stuff, that you used to see when they were in opposite factions, And so, I just let them be together. Stop holding them apart. Just let it happen.
Exactly, man. And the troubled relationship with their dads too.
There's a lot. There's a lot happening. Just let them go. And you're not really doing much with either guy clearly right now.
Yeah. And the tag division needs another team.
Absolutely. So, I feel like you could have bangers because let's face it. Depending on what happens in B and what's going on with Wrestle Kingdom and where things go and whether the dreams get fulfilled and Goto continues on. If not, you'd have to think maybe rotates back to Bishamon at some point. And when he does, Bishamon versus a just two guys, I don't know what you want to call it, but that sort of scenario could be really cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm all there for that. Yeah,
It's a great idea.
I don't know. Zach's. What did you think of Zach's tournament?
Oh, I mean, just put on a clinic, didn't he?
Pretty flawless.
Like
really.
pretty fucking flawless. Every match was great. He was must watch. His connection with the crowd is really growing.
It's amped up.
Yeah, and when you think about like who the crowd was responding to most throughout this tournament, it'd be Goto, it'd be Zach, probably Yuya, and maybe Shingo. Do you think of the top 4 of like?
Yeah, Gabe would be up there too.
Oh, sorry. Gabe is like top 3 easy. Like maybe even more so. Maybe it's like Goto, Gabe, Zach, like in that sort of order. Because when Gabe was fucking around like in sort of like a face mode, the crowd wanted it. Like after that Shingo match, when he was like, shake my hand, they were like, oh, they want it so bad.
Dude,
yeah.
It was funny because I wanted it.
I wanted it.
I wanted it, and then I was like, oh, is he going to do it? Is he going to do it? And then I was doubtful, and then they did it, and then I'm like, oh my God, amazing, it's happening. And then it didn't happen, and I'm like, I wanted it to not happen in that moment. I just went
too
for a ride
soon.
there. It was a roller coaster, and I fucking, I dug every kind of
roller coaster of emotion.
360.
Yeah, absolutely. And Goto, like the crowds have just been brutal for him as well. But yeah, I feel like Zach's really right on top of the world. And Shingo's always right there. And I'll use that as a professional podcasting segue to jump straight to Shingo.
Amazing, seamless.
Seamless.
That's how we do it here. The A side, the A block, the A side of this podcast.
That's how it goes. Absolutely. It's the first.
That, my friend.
I was going to say it's the first one you listen to, but I mean, technically their episode came out first. So what can you do? But so Shingo defeating Jake Lee in 13:49. What did you think of Shingo's tournament?
I mean, he's the ultimate blockbuster wrestler.
Mediocre excellence, right? Like it's almost expected of him. Like you're like,
the dude has the highest floor in professional wrestling.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
He's just always so good and so compelling and connected to the audience. It's like, character-wise, there's not a lot of movement generally, but in this G1 with the Naito stuff, and because he beat Naito and now he's in kind of the position that he's in, I'm all for kind of Shingo just being a little bit like, just at least questioning what's my ranking in this faction now.
Yeah, because he's probably thinking it should probably be higher than it is. Like with his performances and things like that. And I mean, he just beat Naito recently. Like, so he might be going, dude, maybe you're on the way out. Like, and maybe I'm on the way in.
I'm in the playoffs, man. Like you couldn't get it done. And I'm here and I beat you and I'm in the playoffs. And, Wrestle Kingdom, it's 2 matches away from him, Well, I wouldn't know. Yeah, 3 matches.
I'm still not riding off that he could be the one. Like to win the G1.
I'm not either. I
really think it could be him, to be honest.
But dude, like a Naito, Shingo, Wrestle Kingdom.
LIJ explodes.
Event, I mean, that would connect hard in. I think definitely would connect hard in the Japanese domestic audience. But I think Shingo, because of the spots in AEW and just how good he is, a lot of people know who that guy is.
Sure.
I think that would bring eyes across too.
It would. And like he had his run with the belt, but it was in a really trying time.
Oh,
like he put the company on his back when the world ended and Will Ospreay had to bail and they just like put it on Shingo and he just
honestly, man, I didn't even see it because I just tuned, like the pandemic era, I fucking tuned out. I mean, I tuned out of life, but I definitely tuned out of wrestling, watching wrestling. And I just kind of got updates from Josh because, he's a psychopath and just has to watch like
everything
regardless, he doesn't care. And sort of he would tell me what's going on. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Maybe I should check it out. And then he'd be like, it's Shingo, but everything else is just in the fucking dirt. Like,
Yeah.
times
It
I'm
was
like,
it was really hard, dude, and like the
Yeah,
vibe
yeah.
isn't there and stuff. It was rough, but yeah, I think it is Shingo, and I think he deserves like a run on top when there's crowds. I think
I do too.
he would absolutely fucking kill it, you know. So
And I think it adds to the LOJ story.
absolutely, yeah,
Yeah.
And you know
Because
what? And maybe
that
Naito
story's
does
gonna
win,
continue.
and it's always and it is his faction, and everybody should fall in line, or maybe he is as banged up physically as everybody always says, and maybe this is his swan song, and maybe he hands it over to Shingo because, you know, people say, you know, Yota Tsuji's on the come up, and I know you guys have talked about the idea of like a mutiny story and things like that, but I don't know. I was pretty high on Tsuji earlier this year, but I feel like this tournament, I mean, not to jump into B-Block, but I feel like he's kind of been a little flat for me. So maybe he's not ready, you know, and maybe like a Shingo is the move. You know, Shingo's in his prime.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, we talked about that on our most recent episode as well. Like we went kind of towards the end of the show, we go a little bit deep into Yoda. And I'm not as sold on Yoda being kind of ready yet.
Yeah.
But Shingo is ready. And
He's beyond.
and
He's been ready.
and dude, like he makes everyone else ready, right?
Yeah,
Look what
stays
he did with
ready.
look what he did with the Never division, you know?
Yeah.
So if you want to get Yoda ready, putting Shingo at the top isn't the worst way to do it if Naito is kind of, you know, I know there's a story there, but how much of that is reality? How much of that is kind of just the story? You never know with fucking Naito, right? Like, yeah. You know, I don't think he's got that much longer to go, but how underdone he actually is. I mean, Naito likes to play with the audience. He likes to play with New Japan. So you can never be too sure. But Shingo, if you're going to have, you know, a guy from the current generation that's on top as the guy to kind of transition this new generation through, and certainly transition like the growth of a guy like Yoda or Yuya or any of these younger guys, you could do a lot worse than fucking Shingo Takagi. Like,
Absolutely. And I think in this kind of time where you're getting this young generation going up, those are the guys, right? You guys like Shingo, Zack, Goto, they're the guys that you want to constantly be putting dudes like Yoda and Yuya and Shota and stuff up against, because they
need reps against those guys.
Absolutely.
They do. And like, you know, the Jeff Cobbs of the world, who is, well, you know, not to talk too much about B-Block, as you said, but has had an amazing tournament, and he's, you know, those are the kind of guys that are just great for the growth of the generation that is coming up. That's a ridiculously talented generation, not taking anything away from them. But yeah, I definitely feel like Yoda he still needs some reps.
Yeah.
And you know, to just get him in there as much as he can with those guys, those names that you mentioned, I think that's just invaluable to New Japan in the long run. And, you know, that's all, you know, all those young guys are their homegrown talent. So they're going to want to do it the right way.
Absolutely.
And, you know, Shingo's,
they're not going to cut corners, man. That's just not the style of the promotion.
They don't, nor should they. Like, do it the right way, because, you know, they've lost so much talent recently. I'm all, you know, I've talked about this on our podcast, but I'm all for, like, not just bringing up one guy to fill the spot of Okada, one guy to fill the spot of Will Ospreay, and, you know, a Western guy to fill up the spot of Jay White. Bring them all up together and have them kind of at a similar level on the way up. So then you've got, once that older generation is cycled down a little bit, you know, Goto's going to be the greatest dad of all time. But once that cycle, that cycling begins, then you've got fucking 6, 7, 8 guys that
ready to go, simmering,
ready to go, main event
in the Bay Marie,
fucking generation, and then you got fucking Oiwa, you know, like playing around.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about him. And you know what's interesting? I'm glad you brought up that topic, because I've thought about it for a while now. Because quite often the discussion in New Japan fandom is, who's the guy, who's going to be the next guy, who's going to be the next ace, who's going to be the thing. The answer should probably be everybody. Like, it's like, bring up the team. Like, together, everybody shines. That we're in a point now with New Japan where we've got like a new world title. We don't have to worry about that super heavy legacy where barely anybody can hold the belt and all that. Flip it around, keep everybody valuable, you know, those kind of things. So, and I think there's a lot to be said there. But
100%, man.
but
Yeah,
speaking
I'm
of
with
no, 100. I think that's a move. But speaking of new additions to the G1 and to New Japan, obviously Shingo defeated Jake Lee. Now, there's been debate whether Jake Lee is really with New Japan or it's like an angle and he's actually still with Noah or whatever. I hadn't really been exposed to much Jake Lee and didn't really want to go out of my way to see it. I saw a guy in a top hat looking stupid. I didn't really care. And I started this tournament kind of angry about him.
Oh, dude, I loved those rants, by the way. Like, I just chuckle away to myself.
I was pissed off about it.
Wonderful. Oh, look, dude, and in the beginning, I was with you. You know, like maybe not with the same sort of vitriol, but I was with you. I was like, maybe he's not the right fit. Does he fit with War Dogs? And what is this? But like, you know, this is another thing that I love about the Stiff One Climax is I know Jake Lee's not your guy, but you've been following kind of and it's probably the benefit of like a thing like the G1ndering as well. If you're following a block particularly, that you're kind of, in some ways you're forced to watch guys you wouldn't normally watch.
Exactly.
And you're forced to kind of look for some stuff to talk about.
Well, yeah, when you're doing a podcast for every night of A Block, you need to fucking figure it out because
and I love it because I'm here for guys to win me over, even if, you know, fucking TJP is a perfect example. But if I shit on someone, not that I don't like to shit on someone, but if I lightly shit on someone,
I can come in pretty hot, but I'm always open to being won back over.
Turned around, make me a fan. You know, like,
win me over.
And win me over. I'm all about that, and I look for that. And Jake Lee over that period, and I feel like Gabe Kidd and him, they've built a chemistry. He looks more comfortable in the role when Gabe Kidd is involved.
Yeah. And
I like the idea of like the mad bastards that they can both kind of teach each other things.
Yeah, sure. You know, he can teach Gabe to be more calculating, to take his time with stuff and things like that. And Gabe can be like, yo, now it's just time to fuck somebody up. Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
We got to get mean and fucking
You're
bad,
a big fucking dude. Throw him around. Like that kind of vibe, And their match against each other, I really like. That was the match that won me over to Jake Lee. When fucking, you know, Gabe comes in, he's all intense and shit like that. And then out comes fucking Jake Lee and he's wearing the War Dog shirt and he's got the beers. He's got this like grin on his face like, buddy. And I was like, okay, I don't hate this guy anymore.
Gabe's kind of like, nodding and laughing. And then he gets up on the apron and it just gets a
blitzes him.
I love that shit, man.
And then he stomps him into War Dogs, basically. It's like blood in kind of thing. Yeah.
And then Jake teaches him at the end where Gabe tries, as the countdown's going, he tries to go for one more and he reverses it and he gets in the ring and he wins via count out. There's they're teaching each other lessons.
Yeah.
I like the vibe. I think it's cool. And it's sort of, that definitely has won me over on Jake.
Very, very true to both characters. It was really well done. I completely agree. Completely agree.
Together.
And so that, again, if we're talking about people doing things and like playing around with tags and things like that, I think, like you said, that idea of like a mad bastards type thing, that could be cool and be a cool place to sort of sit them. And then you also give Gabe a potential foil or whatever, because I don't think you're going to see like Jake turn face. You know what I mean? Like, so there's something you could do. But I've just realized as we're running down this card, right? So you had an own goal. Gabe Kidd and Callum Newman were both yours. So 2 points to Dave.
Yes. Yeah.
Zack Sabre beats Sonata. I get 2 points. Shingo beats Jake Lee. I get 2 points. And then Shooter Umino defeating Evil, me 2 points. And then the last match is going to see you with 2 points. So this is really the perfect night for us to be talking about because it was all Rafe and Dave all night. But Shooter versus Evil. Shooter was trying to give us some real babyface energy here. I was really glad that he just came through for me on this last night because I was like, fuck, did I fuck up? Because in that third round of draft, you know, you guys started getting wild. Like Curtis picks Oleg, you pick Newman, Josh picks unproven Jake Lee. And I'm like, I'm just going to get Shooter, guys, because he's probably going to win like the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I was starting to feel real shaky on him. and he manages to overcome evil. Evil and stuff come in. They talk some bullshit. They're saying that Shooter couldn't make it to the arena and that essentially he's forfeit and they need to ring the bell and Evil needs to win. Obviously, he runs in. The match happens. You see all the bullshit, the usual stuff. So there's no need to even really break down the match, but how have you felt about Shooter and the intensity he's trying to deliver and like the honesty in him? Because I mean, you and I are all about integrity, and I feel like that's maybe not there with him in his character. Yeah, I don't think he really knows who he is.
Yeah, I agree, and this is I mean, on that our last show, we I think we ruffled a few feathers with Shooter fans, and I mean, I get the support. I mean, I'm totally.
Wait, the Shooter fans?
Yeah. Support who you want to support. I've got no issue with that. Like, your favorites are your favorites, and great. Just do your own thing. I'm the same. I don't give a shit if anyone likes who I like. But Shooter for me he's a troubling case, and I don't feel like he's had the best tournament in comparison to other guys of a similar sort of generation or age or whatever. I feel like they've kind of outshone him a little bit. And then this match, I mean, Josh and I often talk about Shooter gets given a lot.
Yes.
And he gets given layups and we're waiting for him to dunk it rather than just kind of finger roll it.
Sure.
In this match with Evil, which is like he's been orbiting around Evil for a period of time, he gets the Tanahashi layup.
Yeah, he got the Tanahashi run-in in this match, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I did too. And I thought that was better, and that garnered like support because the Japanese fans, they love Tana, and I was kind of expecting a bit more of Tana involved in the whole Evil shenanigans or the House of Torture shenanigans throughout the G1, and the fact that they sort of saved it for here, like, totally makes sense. But at the same time, I'm like, how much of that is to help Shooter just get over?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you've got to have Tana in there so that Shooter can kind of get the support against Evil. I don't know. Shooter he's a curious case for me. I'm the same. I feel the same for you. He doesn't quite know who he is. Red years ago was like, they're telling the Naito story with Shooter. And we were like, we laughed it off at the time. We're like, what are you talking about, Red? But now it seems kind of in some ways, Red Stradamus. Like,
he spotted it that long ago. And so for people who are like newer to New Japan and maybe aren't up on like Naito's full story and things like that, explain that what he meant by that.
So, Naito wasn't the ingovernable one for a long period of time. Like, in the beginning, he was like, when he first came back, and he was the Stardust Genius and a very different kind of character. And he announced himself in Osaka famously as the Shuyaka, I think that's how you say it. Basically the ace of the company.
Yeah,
and
like the new hope of the company. Like, I'm the fucking genius, I'm the one, and I am the fucking dude, basically.
I am him, the
like
Neo
Shooter
of it all,
did, where he was like I'm going to be the ace. He declared.
And Osaka rejected Naito for it.
Yes.
And then that sort of started this groundswell of like rejection against Naito. Oh, you've been shoved down our throat. You're not the guy. We've got Tanahashi, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Naito goes to Mexico. The rest is history. He becomes the ungovernable one, comes back and is like the dark ace of the company and the biggest.
Because he starts so disrespectful. And he's like, would take the title and throw it in the air. And for a time he was the Intercontinental title holder and he would actively smash it.
Right?
Like he had this broken belt because he's like, this is a piece of shit. Like, it's below me. I am above. He used to say he was above the titles, right? He's like, I'm above the world title. Like,
a lot of it came down to like that whole voting thing with when he was having the world title match against Okada.
Yeah,
and they did a vote because Shinsuke was the white belt champ
and was versus Tanahashi, right?
and Tanahashi,
Yeah.
and it got voted as the most, and it ended up the main event. So he kind of used that and brought that into the narrative of him, and I'm the main event. I can't main event as this belt. I've got to make myself the main event, right?
Yeah.
And Shooter has sort of followed a similar path, telling everyone that he's the ace and that kind of thing. And the commentary has done a good job I feel like Walker's really kind of hammered that home throughout the G1, talking about that sort of story aspect. And Shooter has like this kind of identity crisis. Is he Naito? Is he Tanahashi? Is he John Moxley? What is he?
Yeah.
And then he's for the kids, but he's kind of rejected by a lot of adult fans.
Yeah.
There's layers to it, but I'm still unsure about how or where what the direction is there, where he goes.
I wonder whether like how much thought they put into it, like because he's made a few aesthetic changes and stuff which actively kind of make him look less cool and things like that. And I wonder whether he's like they're purposely leaning into the rejection. You know what I mean? Like going, let's kind of like feed he gets everything narrative down everybody's throat. So they're already feeling like, oh, this fucking pretty boy who gets everything. And then they're doing a few things, like they're doing things that make him less cool and less likely to get fans. And then he has something to rail against when it all doesn't go his way.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I would like him to kind of go through a period. I mean, this doesn't have to be forever or anything, but like a period where he leans into the Nepo baby thing and like an interaction with Red Shoes.
Yeah. I would love him to stomp out his dad. I reckon it would be so fucking, or like tell his dad to count. You know what I mean? Like he does something fucking blatant in front of Red Shoes, like to steal a title or something, and he's fucking like trying to pin the guy, and he's literally telling his dad to fucking count it. And his dad says no when they have a confrontation.
Like, no, because he's the honourable referee and he won't stand for that kind of shenanigans.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I mean, why is my son doing this?
Yeah. You could turn him so red hot heel in Japan with shit like that. Like
you could, and I think you could do it in a way that would eventually benefit him in like acceptance as a babyface.
Yeah.
He's struggling with a bit of perception and a bit of I don't know. I don't know. It feels like insecurity. Like we talked about earlier, like commitment. Sometimes when I watch Shooter come out to the ring, like he comes out from like the Moxley way out, but he's kind of got like almost like a blank stare.
The camera cuts to him too early and he's just awkwardly standing against a wall by all the like monitors, like doing nothing. And you're like, what's going on? And then they're like, you can go. And then he like awkwardly kind of walks out until he sort of gets to the fans and then he sort of puts on the show like a little bit, you know.
Yeah, until he gets kind of to the front and he starts kind of shaking kids' hands and giving them glow sticks and stuff. Like, I don't know. Like, it doesn't seem like him.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't fucking know the man or anything like that, but, you know, the connection seems manufactured. And I felt like the Tanahashi thing felt manufactured. And whereas, you know, you look at the rise of, say, like a Hanare or any of these other guys that are kind of like really popping off at the moment, that's so organic.
Yeah.
Like the Goto story, how fucking organic is that? Yeah. Like out with the kids and that sort of stuff. Like it's fucking beautiful. And,
they need to lean into that regardless of what their plans are for this tournament.
Absolutely.
I think it would be a huge mistake to roll him like back to the tag after this. You know what I mean? Like I feel like the crowd are just so behind him. Like I just really want to
give him a run.
Give him a run. Give him a fucking run. Give him the gold watch. Set him about it. That would be so good. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Absolutely. So the Shooter connection, it's a little disconnected for me. And but that's just my opinion. That's just me and what I'm looking for. But as I said, I'm here for him to sort of turn me around on it. I just think he needs something a little meatier than a Tanahashi involvement or a Moxley involvement.
Yeah. He needs to
something
do it
for himself. I thought like his most compelling period was like some of the Ren stuff that he
the
was
fireside
doing,
chat, like all the the like, gay tension between the two of them, like, and all that kind of stuff.
It was thing, and then like that got ran over big time, and Shooter needs something. He needs something meaty,
and that was over the course. When you think about it, that was over such a short period of time. Oh yeah, we're friends and we're sort of a team. Cool. They had this like little interview, just like the fireside chat kind of thing, and then within days, Ren had turned on him, but it like gave that turn all the weight in the world. Like it's funny what they can turn around so quick.
It is, and I mean, New Japan's, I think, for me personally, and why I'm such a big fan is that their ability to kind of do the turnaround and get you to invest in wrestlers is, from my experience watching pro wrestling for far too long. They're better than anyone at sort of like being able to kind of have you connect with wrestlers that you had sort of in your own mind kind of written off at some point. So I don't think that there's like no hope for Shooter or anything like that.
No, not at all. He's just super talented. He can absolutely do something. It's not there yet, but what it will be is going to be the journey,
Yeah, and I don't see a path currently to what it will be. So it's very hard to kind of like project forward or speculate on what it is. But I'm here for it. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I guess we don't really need to get too bogged down with Evil. He is what he is. He went on a win streak at the start, and now he's on a bit of a losing streak at the end. He is what he is, and I think with the Tanahashi involvement, everybody's sort of been saying the writing on the wall is going to be like maybe a Tanahashi Evil sort of program for Wrestle Kingdom. So I think that's probably is what it is,
Yeah. Some of the elements have become kind of ineffective. I think that's part of the story.
Yeah.
House of Torture for me, I think there's a slow change kind of happening. I'm here for that as well.
Yeah, exactly. I like them. I think they're a bit of fun. I've got no real problem with them, but it's just a slow kind of movement. Now,
I'm the same. I just don't want it in the main event.
Yeah, exactly
moment,
right. Exactly. Yeah. Now, speaking of main event, jump to the main event of this night, and it was your boy, the star player, the MVP of the Token War Terrorizers, the Great-O-Khan.
He's everyone's boy.
Everyone's boy, especially Curtis's. He was very upset when he didn't get him, defeating Curtis's number one draft pick. Now, Curtis had the second pick of the tournament, and he chose this man, Tetsuya Naito. Could have chose Great-O-Khan, but didn't. And Great-O-Khan starts on a bit of a loss, and then he comes back he did a reverse Evil. So where Evil started on the hot streak and ended in losses, Great-O-Khan started slow and then ended up really hot. And it comes down to this match. Can he beat Naito, and can he put himself into finals contention? And he manages to do it in a amazing match in a terrific fashion. You got to be feeling good about this pick and how it all worked out.
Yeah, I was pumped. I was sending messages to Josh. I'm like, do they fucking make a star here? Like, they have the potential to make Great-O-Khan here. I'm doubtful that they will do it, but like it's there. It's sitting right there for them.
Yeah.
He's on a run. Yeah. He's against the champion. It's the main event of the night. I want to see it. Traditional New Japan booking dictates that it ain't going to happen. They'll get it close, but it ain't going to happen. And then he ends up with like this emphatic, dominant kind of finish.
Yeah.
Which for a match, which I thought was like very, very good. And from the start, like with Great-O-Khan, he started slow as far as kind of wins go. But I was watching him. I'm like, he's motivated.
He was always looking good. Yeah, absolutely.
He was having great matches, and you had a great tournament as well up until recently, but the injury was unfortunate. But I was really digging the Great-O-Khan stuff with you, even though there was some kind of very odd, lemon eating elements to it. But even in the nuttiness of it, I loved it, and I love that about O'Khan. I love the absurdity cross with the kind of the mixed martial arts sort of aspect of it. That rides with me because, again, he's committed to the bit, right?
Yeah, always in everything he does, from doing the hopping vampire thing, like through to being a tag champion that's in Vegas and just like getting photo shoot on the strip just in nothing but his fucking gear and the belt. Like, like he's just always like living it. Absolutely. I was really happy because I thought I have a, like, how it always says G Store ambassador, is part of his thing. So G Store is a store in Japan, and that they do have like some limited edition sort of Great Okan merchandise. They've done various different things. And when I was there, I got this, I guess, what are they called? Like, not a bomber jacket, but like a sort of raincoat type jacket, I guess, like a mosh jacket, I guess. And it's sick. And on the back, it's got a big picture of Okan. Like, it's like a black jacket, raincoat type material, big picture of his face. It's got like an Okan signature. I fucking love the jacket. And I couldn't find it like this last week. And the last time I wore it, we were like out in town and on the beers in a big way. And I was like, did I fucking leave this, like, to the point where I called the venues to be like, hey, do you have a lost property? Is jacket there, big guy on the back kind of thing? And they're like, no, didn't do it. And my wife's like, oh, that's really sad because you won't be able to get it again and stuff. I'm like, yeah, it does really suck. But I'm like, but before I write it off forever, I just need a day to like go through the cupboard, because it's like you got 100 jackets and stuff. A coat hanger gets pushed the wrong way or it falls down the back or something. I'm like, I'll just find it. And then the other morning, a week later, it was lost for 1 week in my mind. And then I was just going through the shirts to like get Amy her shirt for work, and then like I instantly felt it because it's that different fabric. I'm like, oh, here it is. Like, and that was like the day he won, basically. So
nice.
So I was very happy. It was a sign that he was going to go through. And
all I knew, mate.
I'll be honest, I knew he had won. Not because you had spoiled it, but just from your reaction in the chat. You were like, is anybody else watching this? All caps. Like, and I was like,
it was just like,
Dave is excited.
To watch this. And then I think my response was, holy feck.
Yeah, exactly. And I saw this and I was like, I know who's wrestling today, and there's only one man in this whole thing that could get this man's reaction. So, yeah.
I was instantly sent a message to Josh and I was like, I'm back in the game.
Yeah, he loves it. So, yeah, and after that finishes, we're now into finals for A Block. This is the last of the A Block night that isn't finals. This is the last of the heats, and we have our finalists set. We've got Zack Sabre Jr., Shingo Takagi, and the Great Okan. So just quickly before we'll do a quick prediction thing, but quickly before we do, just wanted to say, I mean, we've kind of touched on him throughout the whole night, but just Naito, just on his tournament broad overview.
Yeah, I mean, I think that. I mean, I don't sort of particularly buy into a lot of the discourse, but in some ways, I think it's fair. A lot of the discourse around him is kind of not that he's washed, but there's like something going on with Naito. He's a bit underdone and blah blah blah. I thought he told that story.
He really definitely leans into it. I think he loves it.
Does.
He loves that. Yeah,
he does. He loves kind of teasing the audience, and I felt like commentary and what he was doing in ring, and the stuff around the Destino, not being able to kind of hit it properly or cleanly. It's always been a little bit of a messy move anyway.
Yeah,
I like that aspect of Naito. I like that he's kind of a little bit of a sloppy wrestler, particularly when you go back and you look at that early audition he had for New Japan, and you like look at the athleticism that guy had, and you're like, man, this dude, he can do everything.
Yeah,
he just kind of blew everyone out of the water, and the athletic freak Sonata was there at the time, and he just made everyone look like he was an alien in comparison.
Yeah.
And so, and he's done stuff with Kenny Omega in the past, whereas everyone thought that he botched, but it was planned.
Yeah, exactly.
Things
like he loves
Naito,
it. Like, for all you know, the fucking eye story is just a straight up leak. Like, I mean, I wasn't in the surgery room. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
that could all be bullshit. He's like, I've got weird eyes. I'll tell everybody there's problems with them. Like,
yeah. I mean, the only thing that's obvious to me is that he hides the hairline.
Yeah, he does. He's a worker, absolute worker.
Yeah, he's a worker, and I think he'll be a worker until the day that he stops wrestling.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of an underdone champion.
Yeah. And
I like the idea that he doesn't make it through to the playoffs. I think it's fresh. It's different for him, which I think is important. And it opens up the field of like, oh, now everyone that beat him in the tournament feels like they have a shot at the champ.
Yeah, because even if Okan now doesn't get beyond the playoffs, he still beat the champion. So
he's
really,
got a right to claim a shot, right?
he absolutely does because he beat him in a dominant fashion as well. Pinned him 1, 2, 3, like clean as a whistle. So
yeah.
Absolutely. I'm with you, man. I completely agree with everything you said. So I guess the answer is, without talking about who is in the B block finals and things like that, because at this stage in time, anyone's listened to it, we don't know. We're talking about Zach, Shingo, and Great Okan. It's going to be Shingo and Great Okan first, and then Zach waiting in a bye. So who are you seeing going through? Like, what are you thinking?
I mean, I'm shit at predictions. My Chris Sampson sort of Tippums, the WeWorkStiff tipping contest.
Yeah. I haven't even looked at my tips, but I assume they're fucked because I knew I would not be able to remember to do it every week. So I just did them all at the start, and then I don't even know my login to get back into it. So I imagine they're completely fucking cool.
I'll have a look for you and I'll send you a message.
Because I imagine dead bottom because I was, you kind of have an idea at the start of the contest.
Red's in the comp, so there's
there's hope for me yet. But yeah, I think it would be fucked because I've never looked at it again. Like, you guys were smart and you made it a thing that you could roll with and you could do it weekly and things like that. But
footy tips.
I'm doing episodes for every G1 at this stage. Yeah. I don't have fucking time to do that. So I was just like, do them all at once. We'll see what happens. So let God sort it out. Yeah.
What was the question again?
Okay, so just Shingo and Okan, who's your prediction? Who do you think's going to you go back in your boy? Or?
My head says it makes sense for Zach, but I'm torn because it also makes sense for, like, to me, the big story of this second half of the year, clearly with the Naito stuff, is going to be LIJ. I'm just not sure, and Naito and LIJ, and I'm just not sure whether they do it early or they do it before Wrestle Kingdom, or they make it part of the Wrestle Kingdom.
Sure, because Shingo did beat Naito, so he could also have a title match before Wrestle Kingdom.
So yeah, regardless, that's kind of the story, right?
And actually, and so did Zach, actually. So all three finalists, technically, even if they don't win the G1, all have right to challenge.
Yeah, Naito's 100-man. So does the title even go back and forth before Wrestle Kingdom? Like, who knows? I mean, that's what I love about this G1. Like, it's unpredictable. Yeah. So the dominance of Zach makes me kind of feel like Zach. That's who I picked in the Samsa Pick'ems. But the overall story makes me think it's going to be an LIJ Wrestle Kingdom story. So Shingo to me kind of makes sense. And Great Okan he's kind of like, he's my heart. He's the long shot that I just want to see. But at Wrestle Kingdom, it doesn't make sense.
No, I do. I love to see him do good things, and I feel like just that win was a huge thing for him. But I don't know if I see him in the Wrestle Kingdom picture. It's right on the line between Shingo and Zach. And I mean that over whoever comes through B block as well. Like, I feel like, exactly.
I agree. The Okan thing, I think what it's done for him is it's effectively made him like that kind of, Josh talked about it, the cult hero. Like, he's become, he's got like this real kind of groundswell, grassroots kind of movement behind him now, which is great. And that benefits him massively. And a title shot for him at some point in the rest of before the year's out. Perfect. Love it. Let's do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got to be honest. I'm not sure it's coming home.
Yeah.
If it's between Shingo and Zach, I'm just not sure it's coming home. I think it might be Shingo.
Who, when they versed each other, who won? Shingo or Zach?
Oh, fuck. I'm not the man to ask those.
No, that's a question for one Josh.
Josh will Curtis are the people to ask that.
Let's hang on. I'm going to
look it up. But
quick.
I mean, Zach got dropped on his head badly.
It was Shingo. Shingo won.
So it was Shingo.
So the question is, does Shingo go on to beat him twice in the tournament, or does Zach win it back?
Ooh, yeah. Fuck. I don't know. It's a big chance Zach will get his win back there, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. But I mean, if you're booking somebody who's going to go on to be the champion, maybe you want him to finish strong.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. And that would add to the LIJ story too. Yeah, if
Because not
she goes
only
to
did
be
I
like,
beat you, I also beat Zach who
twice.
beat you. Yeah.
And I beat Okan, who beat you.
Yeah.
So I am the right.
Fuck. Oh,
Right.
Jesus.
Yeah,
I think we're talking ourselves into Shingo, eh?
I think we might be. I'm here for it.
I'll just say this. My head is saying that, but my heart is saying Zach. But yeah.
I mean, I'd love it to be Zach. I love that man. I think he's amazing and well and truly worthy. But so is Shingo.
Plus, hey, if B-Block comes through, Goto gets in, there you go. That's your fucking champ right there. That's what we want.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do
that.
it. Let's do it. Dude, thanks so much. This is officially my longest G1ndering episode ever. And I'm glad I could do it with you. And I'm very happy to be your first other podcast other than WeWorkStiff.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad that it was your first. I actually didn't think that would be the longest G1ndering. I didn't think that would be the case. Without Josh, our show would probably be 15 minutes.
I wonder how long Curtis and Josh. I'm quickly going to look how long
over an hour, just over an hour. I think
they did. Yeah, they did an hour and 5, and look, we're doing 55 minutes. That seems pretty to spec for us. Absolutely. Yeah. So everybody out there, make sure you check out WeWorkStiff at WeWorkStiff. You can check out the conclusion for the Stiff 1 draft. I believe we're going to record that next week sometime. So we'll get that all sorted. I've got a few notes for some deeper thoughts on some things I want to chat out with you boys. And until then, it's rate, subscribe, listen or die. Spirit of fight, style of strong, sweet cast, Ichiban.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome, my man. Thank you so much.
This has been a Count Out Podcast. Ring Post Radio is the only show hosted by Ryan Knightsey and Scotty Edwards that talks about the entire world of professional wrestling. With new episodes coming out every Sunday, there is absolutely no reason to not listen to real, honest wrestling opinions from two crazy maniacs. Have a hot boy summer and listen along to Ring Post Radio every Sunday on the Count Out Network.